Welcome, everyone. Good morning. So a few weeks ago, we were here in this room, and we honored unsung heroes in the transportation industry. And at the end of the day, the best part of being at NRBP is helping people and being able to be the connector and informing about the city of Newark and all the great things that are happening here in the area, and really spotlighting people who are achieving really, really incredible things. And that makes today incredibly special for us, because we get to have the mayor of the city of Newark, who's just fresh off the election, starting his new term. And this is a mayor who really celebrates everyone in the city, every single person, every person in his administration, and it really makes us in the business community and the community leaders that are here today feel very special. So this is a day of celebration. This is a happy day. The sun is out for a change. I think it's all good things that are going to happen today. We're going to hear about Newark success stories, and we're going to hear about some good things that are happening here. So what we hope that you'll do today is that you'll get to meet a lot of people, and that you'll rely on Newark Regional Business Partnership for making the connections that you most need to make and help you as much as we can. This is what we do every day at NRBP, and we look forward to having you tell us how we can be helpful, because that's the way we can do our job the best. We're grateful to our series sponsor, RWJ Barnabas Health, and you'll hear from them in a moment. We also appreciate the support of our breakfast sponsors, Berger Organization, Broadridge Financial, Connell Foley, United Airlines, as well as our media sponsor, NJ Advanced Media. There are tables in the back. If anybody forgot their pen, there's lots of pens back there, and some other goodies. And we hope that we will see you again. Chip is going to come up to be part of the program, and we'll also tell you about some of the other programs we have coming up. So with that, it is my great pleasure to introduce one of our board members, actually our board chair, Darrell Terry, who is president and CEO of Newark Beth Israel Medical Center and Children's Hospital of New Jersey. Darrell's impressive bio is in your program, as are the bios of the other speakers, and Darrell is going to continue the program for us. Darrell.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. As my role of board chair, I want to welcome everybody to NRBP. As you can see, I have a bunch of different tags here, so I have several roles that I play here today. One, I want to just talk a little bit about RWJ Barnabas Health. Usually when I come up here and Lou's not here and Barry's not here, all I talk about is Newark Beth Israel Medical Center, but there's actually 11 hospitals in our system, and it's RWJ Barnabas Health. A lot of great things are going on around our system. St. Barnabas Medical Center, brand new hospital, and things are going well. The #1 kidney program in the United States. We have Clara Moss, who has a brand new building in ICU. And thanks to Barry's leadership, Newark Beth Israel will start the first phase of $100 million investment in the capital investment in Newark Beth Israel. It's the biggest investment in Newark Beth Israel in over 40 years. So we're extremely excited that the success that we've endured over the last couple of years has made us investment worthy. We've had our 1,000th heart transplant. We have the most comprehensive cardiac program in the Northeast. We have one of the top 5 TAVR programs in certainly in the United States, actually, the top 5 in the United States. We have a lot of great things going on at Newark Beth Israel, and it has really culminated with a significant investment in Newark. One of the things that Barry, his leadership, and certainly with Micheline's vision as well, they've awakened the servant leadership and the leaders in RWJ Barnabas Health. So now one of our pillars is social impact and community investment. It's not enough just to treat episodic illness. Now we are really trying to improve the lives of the communities that we serve. And we're doing that all throughout the state of New Jersey. At Newark Beth Israel, we have a program around food security, the social impact, and we're certainly working on the social determinants of health, for example, Higher Newark, and you'll hear from one of the graduates today. The Higher Newark started as a vision of the mayor, Center of Hope, and we took the ball and ran with it, and really making improvements in the lives of the community that we serve. So we're very excited about the leadership and the direction that RWJ Barnabas Health is going in. Could not be more proud to work for a leader who understands and appreciates the fact that you can do well and you can do good at the same time, and that's what we're doing at RWJ Barnabas Health. Thank you. I want to introduce the president and CEO of RWJ Barnabas Health, Mr. Barry Ostrowski.
Thanks, Darrell. That was a wonderful advertisement. I really appreciate it. Good morning, everybody. I want to congratulate the organization for its ongoing commitment to this great business community. Newark is a very special city, of course, as we all know. Having been born here at the Beth, I can tell you that its reemergence as one of the leading municipalities and regions in the United States is very much the outgrowth of the visionary that will speak to us this morning. We at Newark Beth Israel Medical Center have taken on the challenge that the mayor has given us to be an effective anchor institution, to invest our mission, to invest our resources, to invest our spirit in helping to ensure that the people who live in Newark have better lives. And all of that truly comes from the kind of commitment that the visionary leader of this great city has. In the years that I've had the privilege and the pleasure to befriend the mayor, we've spoken about nothing but how we can improve the lives of the everyday citizens of Newark. He has led us, he has frankly supported us in our efforts to make his vision a reality. When he ran initially, he said, voting for him, everyone is mayor. And I can tell you that that is true. The respect that he absolutely applies to every one of the citizens, to all the businesses, to the organizations and institutions like ours is truly noteworthy. He always has time, he always has concern, and he is always there to help us do that which we think will make that which he wants for this city become something that we can all live and see and be a tangible part of the attributes of Newark. In addition to his great leadership, he is a wonderful person. He's fun to be with. Maybe people don't know that. We don't tell too many jokes, but we have a good time when we get together. The truth is that we don't see this kind of leadership everywhere. Certainly among those that we elect to public office, and today is an election day of sorts, we don't always get the kind of leadership and the type of individual that our mayor presents. And so over the years, it's been my privilege to work with him, and now it's my privilege to introduce to you our mayor, recently reelected, and a great visionary leader of the city of Newark, Mayor Baraka.
Mayor, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome. This is the fourth time you've joined us shortly after an election, and we're thrilled to have you. At this year's State of the City address, you talked a lot about scoring touchdowns. You talked about how you didn't want to be somebody who was just going to promise what was going to happen, but you wanted to talk about the last 4 years and what actually was able to be accomplished during your term. So You punctuated each one of your statements about things with touchdown, and I don't know how many people were at the mayor's State of the City or the night of the election, but there were a lot of these going on in those rooms. So we brought some goalposts today to make you feel comfortable. So what we'd like to do today is celebrate some of those touchdowns with you, but also talk about the scoring drives that are going to lead to more touchdowns over the course of the next 4 years. So that's how we'd like to go about it this morning. Anything you'd like to say first before we plunge into a few different issues?
Let's go.
Okay. The man's all business. So first of all, we can't ignore the election. It was been referred to several times already. But when you win with 77% of the vote, it makes quite a statement. And that statement is loud and clear, and that's the biggest margin of victory in any mayoral election here that I could find. I didn't go back too far, but I have a feeling that there hasn't been a margin like that, certainly not in the last 6 elections. How does that make you feel, besides happy?
Well, it's humbling, you know, and it just makes you feel like you have a lot of responsibility. I mean, that's how I took it, that people are counting on you to do some specific and very real things that they can feel every day, that they are really tired of all of the kind of old politics that goes on the media and Facebook and all the other kind of things. They just want things to get done. And, you know, they are relying on you to get it done. And so it makes me humbled, but also, you know, I feel a great sense of responsibility around that.
Was there any different, or I should say, what was the difference running as an incumbent versus the first time you ran for mayor? I mean, obviously you've been in politics for quite a while. Any difference in the way you went about your ability to campaign?
Absolutely. I mean, you still have to govern, right? You can't stop governing because you're running for mayor, right? You have to. People still expect you to do what you're there to do every single day. You still have to go to regular meetings. You still have to promote and organize and develop and push the city forward while you're running for mayor. And this time around, you have a record that you've created, so you have to defend the record over the last 4 years. Before, you can promise that you're going to do all kinds of things, and it's easy to make promises to people, particularly since you have not been tested at those things. You know, now people have to judge you based on your successes and your challenges that you had. There's no success without challenge, and people have to measure your successes and challenges and make a decision about whether they want to keep you around.
Well, we see the answer is yes, and we're all very happy about that. The municipal council elections you had, you know, were all up. We've got a runoff election coming up for 3 of the seats. In Newark, you need to have a majority of the votes, so 50% plus one vote. 3 council members didn't have, or 3 seats, I should say, are open in the central, the east, and the west wards. Any idea of what'll happen next week? Because it was very tough when you've got a lot of people running. It's difficult when there are 3, 4, 5, 6 candidates for one spot. Any observations in advance of next week's election?
Well, I think, you know, the people are ultimately going to decide who they want in those wards. I think we'll be okay, but, you know, it is, you know, what happens in those wards is going to be very important about how the council is able to move forward, how we're working together in the city to continue a vision that we started 4 years ago. So hopefully things turn out okay for us.
I hope they will. Certainly had a great success. The council has been a good partner in advancing many of the things on the agenda this year, or excuse me, for the past 4 years, and certainly there's more work to be done. One of the other kind of plays on words, we talked about this event, Newark is amazing, and we kind of took a little poetic license with the alliteration to Amazon in that. And certainly the discussion about Amazon coming here and having HQ2 in this city has been phenomenal. And I don't remember a time, and this is my 19th year in the city, that so many people have rallied around one cause. Any observations about bringing people together, and not so much, I'm not talking about, because we can't talk too many details, they're still deliberating, and there's no sense in talking too much more about what a terrific place and a perfect place this would be for Amazon to relocate. But how do you, the whole process, please talk a little bit about that and how that came together.
So I think that, one, we were already prepared to come together like that, because over the last 3 or 4 years, we've been building this kind of collaboration throughout the city, period. You know, the private sector, the university community, the public sector, philanthropic community. People have been working together, talking to each other, probably more than they ever been, and not just talking, but actually collaborating around specific things. We went through this process with Mars, with a few other companies as well, so we have already been through this process before, so it was easier to bring people together. And plus, people understood that we all benefit from something like Amazon coming to the city of Newark or coming to this region. We all benefit from that. A great story was, I called some of the, top developers in the room together to talk to them about our need to make sure everybody was on the same page, and that nobody overpriced or underpriced or did the specific things that were in competition with one another. But they had already talked before I brought them in the room, and they assured me there that, look, we're all on the same page. We showed each other all of our estimates, everything that we gave to Amazon, we showed it to each other before we presented it. So it made me believe that what we've been doing over a few years has been working, and that all of these folks are actually on the same page, and that their desire is to make the city grow, not just their individual businesses grow, which is portends well for the future of this city, and it makes me feel good about being the mayor at this time.
And as it should make us all feel good, and Newark CEDC was kind of the public face, the interfacing part, when it wasn't you responding to press inquiries. It was Aisha Glover and her team carrying the ball in many ways. And one of the things, and we collaborated on an evening session with NCDC to talk to primarily Newark small businesses about what some of their apprehensions and fears, and I know this city, you also had a session 2 days after that, listening to any concerns that Newark residents have, and that was also part of the bid process, as I understand it. What were some of the things that Newark residents expressed to you, and I'm sure they were things that you had already thought about?
Obviously, the threat of the rising costs in the city, the livability of the community, whether folks are going to be driven out of the city like Brooklyn or Harlem or places like that, or Hoboken for that matter, or Lower Manhattan. But people are afraid of that, and and there's a sense that with the challenges that Newark has had over the decades, that people at least have grown accustomed to struggling and being in those conditions, and we have to, on the one end, change that idea of what Newark can be and has to be, but people aren't willing to exchange, their culture, the culture of this city, for a giant corporation that's going to come in and bring its own kind of cultural norms with them. And so there has to be a way that we are able to negotiate the process when Amazon comes here to the city, because we believe it's going to happen. That be able to assure the folks in this city that the policies that we create are designed to make sure that Newark is able to live here, that they're able to work here, that they're able to play here, and that there's no new group of people that's going to come in and displace all of the residents that have been here struggling for the last 50 or 60 years. So they're concerned about that. I'm concerned about that. Those are anxieties that I have. But, this isn't, we didn't take this job because it was easy, right? And you can't be afraid to move forward because there's risk involved, right? You can't walk away from 50,000 jobs. That's like, it's ridiculous if somebody said you could get 50,000 jobs that because you're afraid of what may happen that you run away. What may also happen is what you direct to happen. So our leadership is also important in this, right? So while Amazon has impact, I believe I have impact too. So, yeah.
I'd say you do. And that's certainly important on behalf of the people of Newark. Talking about development, and so many projects are now underway, and the list goes on. And I, just throwing out a few as you walk out the door here, whether it's One Theater Square or the Shack and Borai project behind NJ Pack, going up to Mulberry Commons. I mean, just so many things actually happening. It's obviously a very exciting time. And then, as exciting as it is, we find new announcements coming along. SJP announced at the old Westinghouse site up at Broad Street Station, Lotus Equity Group and Bears Riverfront Stadium. Most of those places related to the Amazon development or potential sites. You've also talked a lot about more development in neighborhoods and outside of downtown. Can you talk about a couple places where that's going on in the South Ward? I know there have been some changes and certainly even greater plans. So if you think about a couple of those and talk about that, because certainly, strictly from a business opportunity in this room, there are those kinds of opportunities to do more than just downtown in places where you could argue very easily that neighborhoods need more improvement and more investment.
So the Clinton Avenue corridor, we're really trying to focus on that to make it a kind of artist corridor. We're building a kind of artist residency on Clinton Avenue now with NCDC and some other folks, with a commercial kind of art space at the bottom with artist residency on the top. Across the street, another arts kind of community center. Down the street there, we turned a vacant lot into a outdoor theater. We're going to continue to build up and down Clinton Avenue with the theme of the kind of artists housing and kind of artist corridor. We turned a vacant lot at the bottom, but an abandoned building at the bottom of Clinton Avenue into a women's resource center on Clinton Avenue as well. On Irvin Turner Boulevard, Martin Luther King Boulevard, there's development. We took the old Sonny Oliver's where it used to be, and it was torn down. It was a kind of makeshift kind of park where people walk through, and it was garbage all throughout there. We redeveloped that into Martin Luther King Park, and we put a plaque there of a saying, kind of quote to Martin Luther King there. We turned it into a beautiful kind of park by the bus stop. We are taking the old Kruger Scott Mansion. We're beginning to redevelop that. The unfinished properties that were not developed there next to Brick Towers, we started doing that. So we're really trying to put emphasis on Martin Luther King Boulevard as well, from one end to the next, because we want to have the best Martin Luther King Boulevard in the country. Usually when you go to Martin Luther King Boulevard anywhere in the country, you're in the African American community, but it's also probably the worst block in the entire city. So we're trying to change that narrative in Newark here. We've already started the kind of studies on Bergen Street to begin to declare the area in need of redevelopment. So we are going to do that on Bergen Street. We're going to it is going to the council, as a matter of fact, in a couple of weeks. We've already done the blight study. We finished that. So I would say in a couple of months, we'll be able to have a community kind of gathering with the private sector and the public sector about what Bergen Street should look like in a couple of months. So we are on target with Bergen Street. I'm excited about that. The lower part of South Orange Avenue, there's some development happening there around the West Side High School site across the street, and on the other side of the street, we are pushing hard around Pabst Blue Ribbon. We're trying to do some work there. And push continuously up South Orange Avenue. The last thing is, and there's many more, we are really focused on what we call the number blocks in the city, West Side, the West Ward of Newark. that has been very, very dilapidated for the last 5, 6 decades. We're trying to do some real infill housing. We are, allowing a lot of local minority developers get property in that area to begin to redevelop whole pieces of it, not just house by house by house. We're trying to do blocks at a time in an area that is, in some parts of it, may have 2 houses that people live in a 2 or 3 block radius. So we are really trying to put some heavy investment in that area.
And meanwhile, as developed and busy as the Ironbound is, there's lots of conversion of old properties going on there as well, and the Fairmont neighborhood in the
Fairmont
West Ward.
That's right. Fairmont neighborhood being led mostly by the Urban League is doing awesome work over there with us, and helping to redevelop that community and put local residents to work, giving them the training that they need, turning renters into homeowners. They're doing an awesome job. Over there, a great partner for us. New Community is doing some things as well, around assisted living, around transitional housing for homeless, chronically homeless folks. I mean, there are a lot of partnerships that we have with the nonprofit sector, that are working to fill the gaps that big developers aren't really involved in. That's helping us develop around different parts of the city, and it's exciting about the things that are coming.
You mentioned the Kruger-Scott Mansion, and that's an interesting project because it's not just the mansion. And I know there's been several articles written recently. There was a planning board meeting, I believe, last night about it. Talk just a little bit more about what's planned for that acreage.
Well, this new trend of the maker space, the co-workers things that are happening, that's what the Kruger-Scott Mansion is going to be. I think that, and behind it is going to be some other stuff as well. I think it's really going to stand out on Martin Luther King Boulevard, and it's a symbol. It's not just the fact that it's being developed. It's a symbol because it has been that way, for a very, very, very long time, and people remember. There's some people still around that remember what it used to be, right? And every opportunity you get, people say something needs to happen to Kruger-Scott. Something needs to happen to Kruger-Scott, and I just feel blessed that in this tenure that we have an opportunity to see something actually happen there. And even across the street, some other things are going to be developed. So that whole area is going to get attention very shortly.
One of the things that, we're talking about a lot of development in small and large, and there are a number of, government programs at different levels. If you look at the federal level, the opportunity zones that have been talked about, maybe just a word about those and how they may help to inspire some of this development.
We're actually looking forward to the opportunity zone. I know the city of Newark, we may get maybe 13, 14 different zones that we're able to get serious investment. And it's important because it's difficult to get the kind of investment that you need in particular areas of the city because usually financial institutions don't go in those communities that give you the development that's necessary. Opportunity zones allow the private sector, folks that have all of this money that they don't want capital gains tax to be applied to, where they could get a deferment over 8 years, can take their gains and invest it in specific areas of the community that have been neglected for a very, very long period of time. And frankly, that's most of Newark, really. So probably almost every zip code in this city can benefit from an opportunity zone. And we're going to take as many of those, as we can in the city and try to direct serious investment in areas of the community that hasn't seen investment in a very, very long time, to fill in gaps for projects, to start projects, to initiate, commercial development, residential development, bring interest, particularly, I think areas that will benefit the most, areas along Freeland Heights and Avenue, that whole Seth Boynton, Dayton Street area next to the airport, be huge investment in that community, which I think will have a serious residual effect in the Weequahic section and everywhere around the South Ward. Obviously, the area where we're working on, the lower West Ward, South Orange Avenue, and over in the number blocks, I think that is also connected to Fairmount, which will, if it's investment there, create a serious kind of, development that goes at the bottom of South Orange Avenue that connects right to the hospital and that area as well. That is a very smart area to have the kind of development and investment that we need in there. And then areas in the downtown, a part of Newark, particularly close to Broad Street Station area that you just talked about. I think investment there finishes off the development that's happening on the, the south end of Broad Street, connects all of that and connects it also to NJ and the Prudential Arena, creating a neighborhood downtown that never, ever existed. And I think that's what we're doing. We're creating a neighborhood downtown in a city where downtown was not a neighborhood. So this whole, when people say gentrification, which means what people in their mind believe displacement, but no one lived downtown at all, ever, right? So what we're doing is populating downtown. We're bringing people down there to create the kind of wealth in the downtown community, to create the real investment in our city, and hopefully it has a kind of ripple effect, at least on the outskirts of downtown. And the city has to push very deliberately and purposefully to get that investment to go into neighborhoods, and the opportunity zones helps us to do that and gets people more excited about what we want to do as city officials.
One of the things that about a year ago we were talking a lot about the inclusionary zoning ordinance and making sure that that there were affordable housing provided in any new projects. Simultaneously, there were zoning changes that went through that allowed more density. So you've certainly tried to balance in this city the needs of the citizens with the needs for developers to be able to realize a profit on their projects. There's an awful, time is money for developers, so the longer things take, the more difficult it is, and there are so many projects going on right now. Does the city have the resources, or does it need more resources, or does it have any plans or programs in place to try to take advantage of this moment in time and move that development along?
Well, we can always use resources, and I'm not going to turn down any resources, but at the end of the day, we've been thinking a lot, and we have a few strategies about how to expedite some of the development that's happening in the city, even at a faster pace. How to organize, create one-stops around zoning and UCC and all those other kind of things. So we are moving in that direction. I think in the second term, you'll be able to see some of those things come into fruition. We laid a lot of foundation, a lot of discussion and planning this time. And I think, as we go forward, you'll be able to see, specifically in the basement, a kind of one-stop for zoning and UCC, so people don't have to run all over the place. More opportunities to use technology to begin to get some of these things done, and laws that will allow people to expedite more of their projects through without going through the regular steps. One, to prepare for, to make it easier for development, and to prepare for bigger companies that also are interested in coming to the city, to create a kind of system, an apparatus that can support those kind of companies coming into the city of Newark. But just something about inclusionary zoning. I think that it is incredibly necessary, and I think what folks are missing is, it was said earlier that you can do well and do good at the same time, but it's really beyond that at this point. It's beyond doing well and doing good. Really, at this point, you can't do well without doing good, right? So doing good is actually tied into your actual ability to do well, right? So, God has a, kind of irony there, right? Sense of humor, right? Martin Luther King said that we're inextricably tied. I think that literally we're inextricably tied now. The workforce and the developing workforce that you have cannot afford some of the housing that's being developed in Manhattan and Hoboken and all these other kind of places. The people you're going to get to work for these companies cannot afford to live in the places where they need to be able to work at your institution. You have to create spaces for them to live. It's just clear. You have to create opportunities for young people to have housing as they come from college, people as they change in careers. You have to create that, and a sliding scale that also creates the kind of diversity that people want to see in their communities. No one wants to live in these kind of enclaves in these industrial parks anymore. That's just past America. That's in the garbage can of history. The suburbs, along with white males running everything, is gone. So at the end of the day, people want to live close to the train station. They want to live close to transportation. They want to live close to NJ They want to hang out, and they want a little color on their block at the same time. So you're not going to, I mean, you just, if you don't see the future, then you're just stuck in the past, and you're not going to grow. So if your business has those old models, then you're planning for your own defeat.
And that's why Newark is moving ahead. One of the things that certainly we've talked a lot about is technology in this city, and certainly with the consideration of Amazon, the fact that we're a tech city is very important. We want to talk a little bit about the role that Newark Fiber has played here, and maybe just allude to the Voice Conference that's coming up as another way that Newark is really being put on the map in terms of technology.
Well, I think, recently we have really been trying to invest and figure out this Newark Fiber. We are now having discussions with Goldman Sachs even about how to help us spread it in throughout the city, have people give the opportunity to have more free Wi-Fi and other kind of opportunities in the city. And I think because we have this, it is another kind of tool that gets people excited about moving to Newark. Not just the transportation infrastructure, but now we have, this tech infrastructure that's been here for a very, very long time that we've really begun to wake up to. 27 miles of fiber in the ground in our city that we're trying to leverage, not just with the corporate community, which is good, has been good to us around that, but also make it accessible to the residents of the community. You mentioned that we're having this voice conference that was very competitive that Newark won in conjunction with NJIT. Alexa voice conference, kind of voice operated technology. A whole conference discussing what that field is going to look like as it moves forward into the future. We're excited about having that in the city of Newark. We're working to get some of our students to be there as well. Anything that happens in Newark, we all have to benefit from it in some capacity. I think it's amazing that we get to have that in our city.
And that's a worldwide conference, 1,500
Yes.
people coming here for 3 days in July.
That's right.
At NJIT's new Wellness and Events Center. So lots of really great ways to accentuate this city. We talk about Newark Fiber and our connectivity as important, and certainly the traditional infrastructure is important here, transportation infrastructure, and there are needs from the Gateway program to the extension of path to the airport and to the South Ward that we'd like to see. Governor Murphy has certainly made a statement. NJ Transit has been deprived of resources for a very long time, and in his budget he's put $242 million, I think, committed to New Jersey Transit. Assuming the legislature can figure out how to pass a budget, that'll be very important. If you can, just talk about the importance of some of those rail projects, as well as with New Jersey Transit's, so many Newarkers rely on bus transportation. It's something that often overlooked, how important transportation infrastructure remains.
Absolutely. The majority of the residents in the city use public transportation, in fact. There are a whole group of people that work at, and I spoke to folks about this numerous times, who work at even at the airport, who live 5 minutes away, but takes them over an hour to get there because there's no real access, direct access to the airport from public transportation. Besides, New Jersey Transit's, sometimes it's not dependable because there's no real investment. Wasn't no real investment in that, and I think that what the governor is doing is important, not just for the city of Newark, but for this region. The buses are important, but also the rail, the highways, all of that is important. I think Newark is its transportation infrastructure is bar none, second to none, up and down this region. Every train that comes along the Northeast Corridor has a stop in Newark. I just recently went to their meeting in JTPA and talked to them about investing in Newark Penn Station. That it's ridiculous that we have not invested the kind of money that's necessary in Newark Penn Station. We've invested in other places around the state, which I think is wholly political, that we need to invest in Newark Penn Station if we're serious about the hundreds of thousands of people that are transporting themselves back and forth from New York to Newark to other parts of New Jersey, that we have to invest. One of the major companies that came here, one of the questions they asked us was not about crime, but was about Newark Penn Station, right? Are there any plans to do something with Newark Penn Station? And so hopefully, with our bridge project that we're working on, that we can get the state government interested in investing in Newark Penn Station. And I think that's another kind of positive thing that we get from Amazon, because now people are thinking about infrastructure. If Amazon came to the city of Newark, what we have to invest in infrastructure, and that's going to benefit not just Newark residents, but the entire state of New Jersey, in my belief, particularly this whole Northeast corridor will benefit as well. And we've wasted a lot of time not investing in our rail, in our buses, in our transportation infrastructure, not just as a state, honestly, but as a whole entire country. We've not invested in infrastructure the way we have, which makes us less competitive around the world, where people have been investing in their infrastructure, investing in their businesses. We've been investing in war and meddling in other people's affairs. We needed to be investing in business and development in this city and in this country.
You mentioned public safety, and going back just a couple years ago, that was probably the #1 topic that people talked about when they talked about Newark, unfortunately. A lot of, certainly, it's nowhere near, excuse me, anywhere anybody wants it to be, but headed in the right direction. You want to make a couple comments about the great advances that the city's been able to make in terms of public safety?
Yeah, well, we've witnessed an incredible drop in kind of homicides, about 38% since 2013. Robberies are down. Robberies are down. We still have an intractable problem as it relates to crime, though. So I don't want people to get this idea that we have no crime in the city of Newark. That's just not true, right? So obviously, when you have poverty and unemployment and other kind of things, you have things that are associated with that, which is why we attack poverty and why we attack unemployment and why we are so hard on corporations to invite and invest in Newark businesses, Newark people, Newark community, to kind of help us change that. We have, for years, been investing completely in police, and we need that, because when I came in, they've laid off 167 cops, 300 had retired. We hadn't replaced a cop, hadn't hired a cop in about 4 or 5 years. We hired 450 in the 4 years that I was there, and we're still doing that. But we also invested in things called, like, Newark Community Street Team, which helps us go into neighborhoods and resolve conflict. Newark Street Academy, which takes kids, maybe 4,000 to 6,000 of them in Newark who are not attached to a job or school, to get them back in school or back towards a career. And we pay them $10 an hour. We give them a stipend to reinvest themselves in a career or reinvest themselves in school. We create trauma-informed care to be able to get police officers to empathize with the community and vice versa, to see what each one goes through, and we begin to treat crime as a public health issue, right? So we take all of the aspects of it and try to push down on those aspects and have a real effect on the reduction of crime, and we've been seeing that over a few years. And the great thing about it, we have had a 40% reduction in complaints against police officers. We've had less arrests. So the police are arresting less people, but also are reducing crime at the same time. So it goes against this narrative that locking people up automatically reduces crime. So you can observe people's constitutional rights while reducing crime at the same time. And that's the kind of model that we're trying to create in the city of Newark, that we could target crime and reduce it without blanketing or stereotyping everybody who lives here.
Certainly. Something important in this environment, seeing how one incident can really tear a city up. So certainly those advances are terrific. We'll get to our other speakers here in a moment and have a little conversation, but talking about, just referenced helping people get to be more productive citizens, providing for their families, lifting them out of poverty. A lot of that starts with education, and for the first time in a long time, the city's regained control of its schools. Tell us why that's so important for the city to regain that control, and where you think the city can go in terms of further improving its education.
Well, one, because every other American controls their own educational system, we think we should do it too. Local control is important for us. We haven't had it in 20-something years. The residents of this city have not picked a superintendent in 20 years, right? So that is absurd. And now we have an opportunity to pick our own superintendent, to be able to, parents begin to feel like what they say actually matters. It gives us a momentum. It was like when we moved into a new school at Central, it gives you the momentum. Kids are excited, families are excited. Now what you do with that momentum becomes important, because momentum can always change. You know, a switch like a pendulum. We have to use the momentum that we have now to begin to organize the community around the wellness of our children in a holistic way, and stop this kind of competition that goes on between school to school, even charter to traditional. We have to come together as a community and use every resource that we have for the betterment of our children in this city. And I think the model that we've been using in the city, anything that we have been successful at in city government, is based on collaboration. The things that we still have not collaborated around and we're still being very selfish with are things we have not seen real success at. The things that we're witnessing success at is based on our ability to get other people to the table. And when we have not done that, we are still struggling. It's very clear to me that the only way we move these schools and these children forward is through collaboration of every sector of our community. And if we can't do that, then our kids will continue to struggle.
And I think that's one area leading into our discussion about jobs and collaboration, Newark 2020 and other efforts. Just remind those who may not be aware of what Newark 2020 is. And there have been some really amazing endeavors this year. My Brother's Keeper Opportunity Summit that was held here in February was, I had some employers in a room who we helped to recruit to attend that, said that it was one of the best experiences they've ever had in terms of meeting people and recruitment. Talk a little bit about some of the things going on in that area.
Well, you know, My Brother's Keeper was an initiative of President Obama. You know, still my president, by the way. But
Shocked to hear you say that.
We carried it on. We joined the minute he organized it, and we've been around since that. And he's made his key initiative as he left office. They have these opportunity summits around the country. We had the first one since he left office in the city of Newark, which we feel blessed to have had that. We had, you know, hundreds of kids attend. Many of the folks in here came. A lot of employers came, and kids were actually hired. And all of them weren't just kids, were hired on the spot there. We gave them jackets, suit jackets, ties, haircuts, speeches, coaching, everything that we could give them. And I think the most important thing they left with is that they are part of a community. And, you know, if they didn't get anything else, they left, you know, the Prudential Arena believing that they live in a community where everybody cared for them and that we were organizing ourselves around their best interests. And I think that was incredibly, incredibly important for us.
It was very inspiring as well. It was an awesome sight to see. Can you touch on Newark 2020 before we move?
I thought you were skipping over that for a minute. I was about to, you know.
Not at all. Well, thank you. Please interrupt me. This is your show.
No, Newark 2020 is, you know, we with the Institute of Social Justice, the Newark Alliance, you know, we come together to create something called Newark 2020, you know, symbolically creating 2,020 jobs by the year 2020, but obviously creating a system and a culture in our city where the corporate community, the anchor institutions, begin to look inward, begin to hire Newark residents, align with the institutions that are in the city, whether they're nonprofit, philanthropic, city institutions, to make sure Newarkers are in the pipeline for employment, to invest in Newark businesses, to focus some of their procurement dollars inward into local businesses here, and to encourage some of their employees to cast their buckets down in the city of Newark. And we want to create a systemic kind of effort where this is happening seamlessly and effortlessly, where people are, the first thing that they do when they look for employees, when they forecast jobs, is they look at Newark. When they want to purchase or they need things for their company, they look at Newark. And that we build community here where their employees feel like Newark is a place for them to relocate or to live. And we're doing that. And we need as much help as we can to get people to make that happen and not look past Newark, but to look to Newark first. It is not just a philanthropic kind of thing for you to do. It is actually a bottom line thing for you to do it. I believe it helps your productivity. It helps with, in terms of you saving money for your business. So it is the right thing to do, but it's also a good thing to do, as we said earlier.
That it is. Anything that I haven't touched, we're going to be joined by our employees and our students shortly. Anything that I haven't given you the opportunity to talk about, I think you would have told me so, but yeah. Please take the opportunity now if there's something that you'd like to say that I haven't asked you about yet.
No, I just thank you for always inviting me, giving me opportunity to vent a little bit, talk a little bit about what's going on in the city of Newark. We appreciate all the attention that we're getting now. Obviously, there are people who've been here for a very, very long time who feel the tension of change and, who feel like people are coming to the party now. You know how you wait, you've been waiting in line for a long time to get into a party, right? And you finally get in and everybody's leaving. People feel like they feel that kind of anxiety that Newark is changing and it's changing rapidly, but it's not changing for them. And in this term, we're going to work hard, very hard, to make people understand that the change that's happening in our city is for everyone. People that have been here for 40 years and people who've been here for 4. People who lived somewhere else and said Newark is the place to be, and they took everything they owned and bet it on a pitch and toss and wound up in the city of Newark. And people who've been here for generations, like my family, for almost 100 years in the city of Newark. That we want to be an example of what a modern American growing city can be. We don't want to be in the Trump narrative. We want to be in our own narrative. We're not Brooklyn. We're not Harlem. We're not Jersey City. We're Newark, New Jersey, and we want everybody to be a part of it.
Not surprisingly well said. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
In addition to hearing from the mayor this morning, we wanted to personally introduce our members to some Newarkers who are shining examples of people who call the city home. And we'll have a roundtable discussion in a few minutes about employment and opportunities in the city. But first, we'd like to remind you, in this room before and at many of our functions, we've talked about our Young Entrepreneurs Academy. And that's our 24-week program where we take students from the city and teach them about small business principles, about the traits of an entrepreneur. They then put a business plan together with the help of mentors and instruction that we provide. Then they pitch that in a Shark Tank-like competition, and then we actually provide money for them to start their businesses. We've got supporters in the room of this program. We've got a couple mentors in the room. We've got instructors, and we thank you and recognize you for helping to make this program possible. We've also got great partner in Rutgers Business School and Rutgers Newark who host us for all these sessions, and it's really been a terrific opportunity. And last year we introduced you to Lene Phillips, who was our winner. And Lene, stand up and wave, please. A year ago, Lene was graduating from Arts High and on her way to Howard, Mayor, where she said she had a pretty good year. She had a little bit of a challenge, certainly a dramatic change in lifestyle, but a great opportunity. So Lene came back to visit with us, and her product is her own shea butter mix. She's got 1 jar of samples. We actually just gave her some more investor funds to make more product, so make sure you give Lene your contact information so you can buy from her. This year we had 15 students graduate from the program. One of those is Couture Cote, who is with us. She's going to enter her junior year in September at Bard High School Early College. She not only was a top presenter in our competition, but she represented Newark in Rochester at the national competition, competing against 75 other schools. So we were very, very pleased and proud to travel with Couture and her mother, who's with her this morning, as well as Emily Mans, who is our program director going forward for the YAY program. And we're going to ask Couture to come on up and give us a little bit about her business, Couture's Closet.
Does it work like that? Hello and good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Couture Cote, and I'm the proud CEO of Couture's Closet. It is such a great honor to be given the opportunity to present my business to you all. Thank you. As a person who has always been interested in fashion and enjoy making clothing, I decided for my business I could create a gender-neutral clothing line which consists of suspenders, bow ties, and ties. And I decided to make it a little more interesting by incorporating my traditional Ghanaian kente cloth on the items to make it more unique. Because in the Ghanaian culture, kente cloth signifies royalty and power. The mission or motto of Couture's Closet is embracing culture with style. We hope that through our business, people will be given the opportunity to build a stronger bond to their culture. Especially after the release of Black Panther, people are now more than ever interested in their ancestry and background, so my business can have a greater chance of fulfilling our mission. Our target market includes both men and women, as I mentioned before, and ages ranging from 14 to 45, so overall teenagers and adults. Couture's Closet has a few competitors, such as the Swiss Lace African Boutique and the Ova Boutique, both located all throughout Newark, New Jersey. What makes us different and unique is that we are less expensive and of better quality. In fact, our fabrics are shipped straight from Ghana, and they are authentic. Please bear with me. Couture's Closet plans on starting to sell its items in April, which we have. In order to achieve our goals we have set for ourselves, Couture's Closet plans on promoting the business through social media, posts of people wearing my product on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, etc., and all other social media outlets. Also through posters, flyers, and of course, word of mouth. Sales will begin to rise in April because that is when I'll start selling. Sales will continue to pick up throughout the spring and summer as wedding season arrives. And also due to the popularity of the film Black Panther, people are progressively looking to buy African clothing for formal events in addition to everyday wear. One unit is one tie, one bow tie, and one pair of suspenders. We will be realizing a gross profit margin of 20% per unit. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today and your consideration of Couture's Closet. I'm so excited to share my business overview with you all. Thank you. And also, I'm selling today, so feel free to buy.
You got some product on you today?
Mayor, anything you'd like to say to Couture?
I just want to see some of the products she says she has over.
Well, now that you mention that, we did talk to her, and so what do you have with you today to sell?
Suspenders, bow ties, and ties.
Nice.
And you got your chief salesperson there. Mom is over there going through the bag now, taking out the wares.
Nice.
So the product will be, Couture will be out by the registration table if you'd like to see her products. We also have credit card slips we can fill out, and we'll take cash, won't we, Couture? So you stuck with the YAY program for 24 weeks. It's a long period of time. what made you stick it out that long?
I think what made me stick with the program is knowing myself. I know that I'm not a quitter, and I didn't want to put my mom through all of that because she had to pick me up every day, every Wednesday after the program at 7 o'clock. And if I just decided to quit, that would be just wasting her efforts would be in vain, and I couldn't let that happen. And also, I wanted to see through this program and see what the end of it. Like, I wanted to see through the whole program and see.
You had the opportunity to go up to Rochester and compete. What was that experience like?
It was really amazing. It was really nice to see other bright-minded, light-minded youth and see what they had to provide and see their ideas. And they also really, they encouraged me to keep on with my business because I saw how so sincere and honest they were and how proud they were of their businesses. It made me proud of my business. And it was a really great experience.
We, obviously, we helped us, but you've already drawn down on your investor panel funds, and not only you still have some more funds available, but you'll be putting the money back in your business to grow, and that's one of the things, like Lene and her experience both in selling in Newark as well down at Howard. We want to see you continue that. So any way we can help you continue to promote your business, we certainly want to do that. As far as your future plan, I mean, you're only going into your junior year, but I know from conversations you've got some things that you think you'd like to do going forward. You want to share that with the audience?
Well, I have a whole plan. I want to put my two passions together, which is business and law. So I want to major in business law, probably at Princeton. I want to go to Princeton University, and maybe Yale or Harvard for law school.
Howard got a good law school, too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard that. Howard got a good law school, too.
Yeah.
Anything else? You went through the program. Do you, what can we improve about the program? What didn't you like? I know we ran a good program, but it wasn't that good.
Okay, improve about the program. I think at the starting stages, you should try to let the upcoming students know how rigorous and long the program can be. Because I did not imagine it was going to be 24 weeks. I was going through like, okay, it's going to be like 1 month, 2 months. Let's get it, but 24 weeks? That, and also the food. I mean, it was great.
There's always something we can work on. Now it's the snacks. And Katorka, it is a very long program. We actually were able to convince the National Yay program. Again, we have to stick with that curriculum and follow a continuum. But that's something that has been taught. It is a long time, but let's face it, for those, and we have members in the room who are entrepreneurs, it's not for the faint of heart. And it does require a lot of determination, even at a young age. So it is a long haul, but we're glad you made that journey with us, Katorka. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
So we've asked 3 Newarkers to join us, 3 success stories to join the Mayor and me up here. So if we could ask them to come on up, just give us a couple minutes to get ourselves together and get a couple more chairs up here. So it's a little bit crowded up here, but certainly, we've hit on a lot of topics today, and workforce is one of them. And we're moving forward in this city in collaborative ways, as the mayor talked about, in so many ways. And those collaborations take many forms. And it also takes a lot of different kinds of experiences and a lot of different kinds of people. So we wanted to put a small round table together to talk about some of those people. 3 people that have had, who are Newarkers, who have successful careers ongoing, and let them share their stories with you. Each of them very different, but all I found very inspirational. So we'd like you to welcome and hold your applause, if you will, to the end, but Mark Carney from Greater Newark Conservancy, Karen Johnson, who's a graduate of the Higher Newark boot camp that was referenced earlier from Newark Beth, and Troy Williams, a customer operations supervisor with PSE&G. Thank you all for joining us here this morning.
Thank you.
So we're just going to do this in a roundtable format and talk, give you each an opportunity to talk, and Mayor, please chime in for us. But Mark, let's start with you. Tell us first about your present job, what you do every day, where what the Greater Newark Conservancy is.
Good morning, everyone. I love the fact that he said career, because I do believe what I do. I work at a farm, and we have a farm in Hawthorne, and we did have one in Court Street, Martin Luther King Boulevard. And what we do is we grow vegetables, and we're trying to teach the young people in the city of Newark how to eat healthy. And so what I do is, my job is to till the ground. It's my career now to grow the vegetables and help the young people that come into our program, teach them how to eat healthy, what the vegetables are, and what we do. Just bear with me. I started Newark Conservancy in 2011. I had a conviction, and I didn't know if I would be able to find a job and to be able to work. And then now on top of that, it was an educational problem. I didn't get an education. So for me, trying to find employment in the city of Newark was really, really tough. And they had a program called the Clean and Green Program, which I applied for. And in that program, we had to go throughout the lots in the city of Newark and clean empty lots. And so doing that, eventually I was hired by the Conservancy. And what I found working with the Greater Newark Conservancy was that it was an opportunity to gain employment so that I could go to an employer and say, hey, I'm able to do the job, you can trust me. I'm not gonna get angry if I get laid off, because a lot of employers felt like I was a threat to them. So for me, it was really difficult. And the Greater Newark Conservancy and the program allowed me the opportunity to gain employment. In doing that, we were able to, with other young men coming in, I was able to see that there were some guys who had potential but had a lot of problems, same as I. And in that process, I was able to help them, to give them encouragement, and then as they went on and graduate, some have good jobs, some guys are doing very well today because of the program that the city of Newark had provided for us guys.
Thanks, Mark. So Karen, we'll give you your, I have a feeling you were sandbagging me on the phone when you seemed very reluctant, you didn't want to talk, but you seem very enthusiastic on the phone, and you seem very enthusiastic now. Tell us about your role at the Beth and how you got there.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to say congratulations, Ross. I am so honored to be here with you and the NRP partners, because this is like an amazing thing for me. It's like, I'm a 50-year resident of Newark. I've had a lot of jobs in different cities, in different states, but going to the Higher Newark program has earned me a career, a great career at the Newark Beth Israel. I'm so passionate about my career that as a nurse's assistant, I'm a nurse's assistant at Beth Israel. I just also won Employee of the Month in 2 months, thank you. But the Higher Newark program is what gave me the motivation to motivate myself to have a career, not just a job. It was the principles that they taught us there on how to get a job. It was the motivation that they gave us to love Newark, where we come from. So My mother retired at Beth Israel, so actually it's a family business. You know? I'd like to thank Atia Rashidi, my manager, Miss Chi-Chi. They are the Beth Israel is an amazing place to work. I just want everybody to know that my coworkers are amazing. I work in the oncology department, D7. My passion for my job is giving me chills now. I love what I do. Thank you, guys.
Well, and you know, you talked about, Karen, about being in the oncology unit, and how difficult that must be. Obviously, people there going through the treatment. Talk a little bit, because you mentioned that on the phone.
Okay, so every day, to me, is a blessing to wake up, to have, and be able to walk, to see, because when I get to work, every day there's someone young and old that they're not sure they're going to be here tomorrow. There's people that's so sick that they don't even want to talk to you. There's people that's so sick that they're striking out. They have anger issues because that they're sick. They don't want to be like that, so I show them love. I show them a smile. I even give them a joke. I even tell them I dance for them. Or, you know, just to make them, for that moment, not be in their feelings about their illness.
That's the kind of care we all need. So, Troy, you have a long career at public service, 30 years. Tell us the path that led you there, as well as what your current job does.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I've been at PSE&G for 30 years now. So I started out in meter reading, like most people when they get hired at PSE&G, and that led through different departments. I was always one of those people who believed that once I got to know one particular job, I wanted to learn something else. I was never comfortable with just doing that particular task and saying that's all I wanted to do. So I moved through the different divisions of PSE&G, and this will be my second year I stepped into management. My mentor said, it's about time. He said, let's do this, and I was like, sure. So now I manage an office of 50 people in the terms of a satellite office, but my particular training is making sure that our force of 328 people in our Northern Inquiry Center are trained and have the knowledge and the resources that they need to be able to assist our customers. So it's a challenging but exciting. PSE&G is one of the best companies, and I know this is everyone is saying about theirs, but it's one of the best companies that I've ever worked for. It's a company that respects you. It's a company that is there to help you get up the pole if you want to. If you're comfortable just staying in one position, you can do that. But if you have a desire to move up, there's mentors at PSE&G that will be right there and teach you and kind of guide you through it. So it's an incredible company. Outside of that, I'm a resident of Newark. I live in Newark. I have a home in Newark. I have a business in Newark. And we work with the mayor's office for the Newark International Film Festival, which will be celebrating the third year this year. And we're bringing entertainment. We're bringing the knowledge and people into Newark to understand that this is a wonderful place to film, to bring your businesses, to bring your entertainment. So we're really excited about partnering again for the third year for the Newark International Film Festival.
Thanks, Troy. These are terrific people, terrific stories, and one of the things that we want to do is to remind employers in the Newark Regional Business Partnership and throughout Newark that we've got this great potential, we've got this talent in front of us, and sometimes you may need to make an extra effort. And I know that there have been many times where people have said, looking to be hired, that because they had a Newark address, they couldn't get hired. And those are the types of things that we certainly want to help correct and bring people's attention to. And when you hear stories like this, you can't help but be inspired and know that these are examples of thousands and thousands of people, their fellow Newarkers, who are more than capable of helping our organizations. And we all need to make that effort to be looking for them all the time. What would you say, Karen, to Newark employers about the opportunities. What kinds of challenges are there for citizens or residents of the city in trying to get employment, and what could employers do to reach out and get talent like you?
Well, there's nobody like me, but
I can see that.
so for new businesses, maybe you all should start a reentry program. It's a lot of people that know what they're doing, but they don't know how to present themselves. So as the 2020 program, the Higher Newark program did, they taught us how to do interviews and how to shake hands and how to have eye contact. So maybe a reentry program or apprenticeship program would be a good opportunity for some of the Newarkers, because there's a lot of people here that are motivated and looking for work.
Mark, we've spoken previously about some of the people that you've had the opportunity to interact with. You have a story or one or to tell about somebody that you've been able to help in your role? I have to say that Robin Doherty, who runs the Greater Newark Conservancy, referred to Mark as Father Mark for the counsel that he provides and the care he provides, and as Karen said before, the love he shows to people he works with.
Yes. There was a young man. I tend to farm, so the guys came in. They have like maybe 25, 30 guys on the farm working. And a lot of guys be like, you know, nobody's going to hire me. So this one young man had a tattoo on his face, and I observed him working, and he threw down his rake, and I walked over to him. I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "Nobody's going to hire me." I said, "They will." I said, "You're smart." See, a lot of young men are smart. They just haven't had the opportunity. I didn't get a good education, but I can recognize other guys who do. And I'm like, man, you have the ability. You can read, write, and spell. You have the ability to do anything. So I walked over to him. I said, "You know what? You can do it." I said, "Use your tattoo as a conversation piece." So some program happened, and they asked our guys to go to New York and park cars. So he volunteered to do it, and he went, and he used that tattoo as a conversation piece. He came back to work. He's like, "It worked, it worked." Well, that young man works with the judge in this city now. And so it does work. I don't know how to talk as well. I know I care. I have a passion for the youth. I have a passion for the young men, old and young. I think that just they need an opportunity. And I heard the mayor speak, and I love what he said, and I think you're a great leader. Thank you. And I think what I do individually with the young men, and they come, I had a young boy come, the city sent him, the judge sent him to our program, and Robin, sorry, Robin, I'm a little nervous, but the young man came to the program. She said, "Mark, I want you to take him out with you." And he was, 16, got in trouble, and he came so hard. He was so hard. And I could have just ignored it or said, "I don't want to be bothered." I said, in him, there's a good. And so we kept working, and eventually the young man broke down, and just who he was, the kindness, the gentleness came forth. And I said, we got to take time. We just can't push him. I don't have the education, but I have the love. And so I just use it every day. That's my job. And the mayor leads what he's doing. I think it's a great thing.
And by the way, you speak pretty well too. So.
For sure. So, Troy, you've had a career. You have a career at public service. You volunteer with the film festival, and you have your own business. That's a lot on your plate. But there are probably a lot of other opportunities like that for people. How would you, or what would you say to some other Newark residents who may be seeking the same kinds of opportunities? How do they go about advancing their careers?
I would say just do it. I mean, we talk a good game about what we want to do constantly. I mean, I went to St. Benedict's Prep, so we had a motto that said, "Benedict takes a quitter." And in that was instilled in me. So if you're wanting to start a business in Newark, there's no better place to start it than in Newark. You don't have to wait till you get somewhere else to start a business. You don't have to think you have to go to New York or another state to be supported. It's here in Newark. Come on downtown Newark. See it for yourself. You can, there was a time where I was always in Harlem. We joke about with friends of mine. I never stayed in Newark. I lived in Newark. I went to work in Newark, but I hung out in New York. I was always in Harlem, hanging out there because I loved the community they had with the restaurants and all the great things there were to do. Now, I sit down here in downtown Newark every weekend, and I'm at a Mix 27 and all the different MP, all the different restaurants that are opening in Newark, and I'm excited to hang out in Newark. My friends say, you don't come to Harlem anymore. I said, no, you need to come to Newark. Yeah. So, you know, it's a great place to live. It's a great place to now that they're investing in Newark to come enjoy, eat, relax, and hang out. You no longer have to just get off of work and run to the train, which I think most people in Newark would do. You get off of work and you need to run home. You can stay downtown Newark now. It's beautiful. And so anyone who's looking to hire someone in Newark, do it. Just do it. You want to start a business in Newark? Just do it. The resources are here.
So I'll give the mayor a last word in a moment. We just want to thank you all for being with us, and I want to thank Couture, and I want to thank our panel here this morning, Troy and Mark and Karen, for joining us. We look forward to seeing you at another NRBP event soon. There are coming events listed in your program, so we certainly like to see you. And with that, Mayor, final word obviously belongs to you.
Well, I think they said my last word. They did excellent job up here. It made me proud. I feel good. You know, whatever it is that I have to say, they've already said it. So God bless you. Keep up the great work in the city.
Thank you all for being with us. Have a great day.